guys, thanks for joining us again this week. We are excited to bring you another industry professional to talk about her amazing career. So let's go ahead and get started. Q, thank you for being with us today.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yes, would you mind taking just a few minutes, introduce yourself, tell us who you are, where you're from, and what you do?
I can do that. I am LaQuishe Wright, but everyone calls me Q. I am a social media strategist and manager, specifically in the celebrity niche. I am from Houston, Texas, and I currently live in Katy, Texas, which is west of Houston.
That is so interesting. I mean, social media is such a huge popular thing. I mean, right now and for the past many, many years, and I'm sure it's here to stick around. So, could you
I hope
tell us? Yes.
so.
So you mentioned that you work specifically with celebrities. Could you tell us a few of those celebrities that you've worked with?
Sure. So my firm is Q Social Media, me being Q. Um, and my very first client who I still work with, Channing Tatum. I work with Jenna Dewan, Nicholas Sparks, the author. I also have worked with Paul Walker. I still work with his estate. I've worked with Chadwick Boseman. I've worked with a lot of different people. I work with major studios. So all the, major studios that you know of that make movies and TV shows. I do strategy for them. And I also work with brands. So I represent different companies too, like PR agencies, a lot of things in the entertainment world.
That is such an impressive lineup. I mean, I'm so impressed with your clientele. So, when you say you manage social media, could you give us a little bit of insight into what exactly does that mean?
So my goal every day is to help my clients navigate the social media space. So that's understanding it, using it in a positive, good way, amplifying their personal projects and their professional projects. So helping them to communicate with their audience and connect more with their fans.
Yes. And that's something that's so important because I'm sure students have always heard that what you put on social media it can be seen by anyone and it's there forever. Do you have any advice for students that are managing their own social media accounts? Maybe a short list of do's and don'ts?
Sure. For sure, you do have to understand that literally everything you post in the social media space is public, even though you might think it's private because it's on Snapchat and it's just going to a few of your friends. I think most people are well aware that that can be screen capped and screen recorded. And it's just really important for you to represent yourself well and what you would, say to someone's face. You would want to keep that same mood or that same direction in the social media space. You would want to be positive and not confrontational. You don't want anything to come back on you because you're putting something negative out there. I do find that the negative tends to come back much more quickly than the positive. So I think that's really, really important. I think what especially kids these days and what didn't exist in my world is that your world is truly being recorded. So when you go to look for a job, whether you be a 15-year-old looking for a job or a 35-year-old looking for a job or a 70-year-old looking for a job, people now look in the social space to see who you are, who you were, what you said, and that can be either used for you or against you. So it's just really important to remember that it's a lasting history that those of us who are a little bit older didn't necessarily have when we were growing and learning how to be better humans, So it's just really important for you to be cognizant of that and be a good steward in the social media space, just as you would want to be in the real world.
Absolutely. That is all such good advice. So, when you wake up in the morning, you get ready for your day. What does your normal, typical day look like as a social media manager?
My normal typical day is not quite as interesting as when I'm outside of my office. I run my own business. I work out of my home, which I love because that also allows me to balance my professional and my personal life. I'm a mom. I have two kids. I have a 15-year-old and a 20-year-old boy. So it allows me to balance both things. But so for the most part, my day is literally starting checking emails, checking the social media space to see what conversations are being had, checking our content calendar because we plan for each client different things that need to be posted around their projects, whatever we're helping them with posting. But the more interesting days are when I do travel and when we're not in a pandemic, when I go to visit my clients on film sets or their TV sets, or I go to their premieres, or I help them through their press junkets, which is a way that they communicate about their projects with the press. When I travel with them on press tours all around the world. So those days are definitely the more interesting days, but I do love what I do. I do find it really interesting. I love that social media, because I am both a techie geek and someone who loves people, which is an important combination in the world. I enjoy being able to allow my clients to utilize the social media technology to connect with people. And so yeah, my days can start out in my jammies, but end up dressed up on a red carpet at a premiere, which is pretty fun and pretty cool.
Yes, I mean, it sounds like a very exciting career. So I'm sure it hasn't always been glitz and glamour. So could you take us through what your professional journey has looked like from high school to where you are now?
Sure. So high school, I've always been a nerd. I've always been a geek and I love it. It has helped me to be really successful. It's helped me to learn how to work hard and learn what I need to learn to accomplish whatever it is that I try to accomplish. So in high school, I was in honors classes. I did speech and debate, where I actually didn't do the speech and debate side of it. I did prose. So I performed stories and poetry. So I had a creative side. Even back then, I did take art, but I was also a math geek who took calculus. So I found even back then this balance that I didn't know was going to serve me well later in my life, where I was going to have to be both analytical with the tech and creative with the social media. So it's funny, I've never really said it that way before, but I guess I kind of started this a long time ago with that combo. In college, though, I majored in computer science. I went to Texas A&M University, minored in business management. So I got a good education on both sides of being that techie who could program and understand the tech, but also on the business side who could understand how to work with business people, which went well for me later when I became a management consultant. And what management consultants do is we help, in my case, we help to build applications and programs to make businesses more efficient. So part of my job initially was to program those systems. And then I worked my way up to where I gathered requirements with the business people around those systems. So I used the management side of my degree. And then I took those requirements and I designed a system. And then I led a team to help program that system. And then we tested the system. And then we would put the system out there into the world to hopefully make the business be more efficient. So that was my initial, being a consultant doing that. I then worked in the airline industry. And then I started my first business, which was a web design business. I with the tech knowledge that I had, I taught myself how to program websites. And that eventually evolved into doing search engine optimization, which helps businesses to get people to their websites. And then that evolved into social media. And that's where I truly fell in love with this world that combined my love of tech and my love of connecting people.
Yes, I love that you mentioned all of the different experiences that you've had. And I think that's so important for students to understand is that every experience along your professional journey might lead to a door that maybe you didn't expect would happen. And for you, it sounds like you really fell into something that you absolutely love and are passionate about.
100%, and literally fell into it because I don't come from the entertainment space, and I literally came in the Houston area. Oil and gas is very big, and then I also did the airline industry because at the time Continental Airlines, which is now United, was based here, but entertainment was just nothing that I knew anything about. I didn't know what that box even looked like outside of my cable box. So when I stumbled upon this, I literally went to see a movie that led me to look for information about actors in the movie online, that then led me at the time to MySpace, which most of these kids might not even know what that is, but that was one of the really early social media sites. And a light bulb went off when I saw how many people were looking for information on celebrities and how celebrities could directly connect with their fan base. But I wasn't trying to represent celebrities. I was going to use this knowledge to help businesses connect with with people who wanted to utilize their service. But what I did was, in order to learn how to do that for a business, I started with the topic I knew everybody was searching on, and that was my first client. So a lot of people were searching for Channing Tatum and Jenna Dewan, and I decided to create a community around their fan base so that I could learn how to write and blog and keep people informed and excited about what they were seeing online. And that grew into something that I never ever expected for it to grow into, because Channing then found me because of this large community that I built to learn the space, and he hired me, and that was how my career started in entertainment. So it was very much an incredible accident that I am so passionate about and I love so much, and I feel extremely lucky to be able to do what I love every day. That's a huge blessing, honestly, that most people don't necessarily have. So when you find it and you find that passion, I tell everyone, pursue it.
Oh, I love it. That is such a great story. And I think so much is to be learned from that. It's incredible to think about, in the future, especially for young people, they might have this vision of what they believe their future might look like. But always being open and willing to take that risk and try new things, I think is so important for young people to hear and understand. So I love that you shared that with us.
Thank you. But yeah, I think, and what's so important about that is social media management did not exist as a career when I started doing this. So that is why I tell my kids, just figure out what you're passionate about. And I truly feel that the universe will figure out how to make it happen. You don't have to, I was always a planner. So I planned 5-10 years ahead. And this made me realize that you don't have to know every step. You don't have to know Z if you're at A. But if you're willing to put in the hard work and you're passionate about it and you love it, the most amazing things can happen. And that is where I'm at right now. So.
Yes. Oh, that's so awesome. So my next question for you is, I'm sure just like everyone else, you've probably experienced some obstacles that you faced. And would you share with us maybe some advice that you have of how students can overcome obstacles, maybe how you have overcome obstacles all along your professional journey?
Yeah, I definitely think that one of the biggest things I say all the time is that I try not to live in other people's fears. So, because someone else is afraid of something, I try not to internalize that and let that stop me from trying to achieve what I want to achieve. My path to where I'm at right now definitely wasn't a normal path, because I was, I had a normal career as a project manager, well paid, 6-figure type of career. And I left that behind to pursue something a career that didn't even exist in the universe yet. I did that in a very calculated way. So I have to be smart about it. I have children, I have a mortgage to pay. I have, so you do have to be smart about things. But I did take that leap, and I didn't listen to the naysayers that were concerned and were worried. Now, not saying their concerns weren't valid, and I completely understood them, but I didn't internalize them in a way that they stopped me from pursuing my goals and my dreams. And I think that that's extremely important, that you have to figure out who you are and what you want, and if you're willing to work for it, and be calculated about it. When I left my job, I also knew that I had a certain amount of savings. I knew that I had gotten a bonus that I decided to put away and not use. So again, I knew that I had a fallback. I knew that I could go back to freelancing. I knew that if this didn't work, that I had a plan, B, that I would never want to use. But you have to, be smart and then still pursue your dreams.
Yes, that is such good advice. So my next question that I have for you is, and you may have already talked about this a little bit, and I'll have you to expand on it, but what is something that you wish you would have learned at a younger age?
Oh boy. Finances for sure. Yeah, I'm 45, and I'm literally just really getting into investing in the stock market. And so, because I've learned the value of investing early and often, later in life, albeit, but hopefully, I will have a lot more life to be able to accumulate. But because I've learned that now, I'm making it an effort to make sure that my kids learn it much earlier. So, so for Christmas, I got my 15-year-old his first brokerage account. And he is now buying stocks. And I'm learning investing in stocks and options. And I'm teaching him as I go and I learn. So I 100%, no matter what job you have, no matter how little or how much money you make, if you invest early and often, you can definitely do very well for yourself and make sure that you can take care of yourself later in life and currently in life. So yes, I wish I had learned a lot more about that.
Yes. And I think most students probably have the opportunity to take classes such as personal finance and things like that. So I would highly encourage students, don't overlook those classes. Don't just think that they're an easy grade. I mean, these are classes, these are concepts that you will take with you for the rest of your life.
Yes.
So I have one last question for you, and then we have a few questions from students. My question is, if there's students that are watching that are interested in becoming social media managers or working in the entertainment space, what advice can you give them of something that they can do right now, today, while they're still in high school to help prepare them for that future?
So that's always an interesting question for me because no classes existed anywhere when I started doing this. Everything that I do, I've learned, in the streets as far as, I've learned in the real world because those things didn't exist. Those classes now do exist because I've actually spoken in college marketing and communications classes. And so I definitely, first what you can do before you even get to college though, is truly learn the social media space, which is much easier for the kids these days because they're literally born and raised into it. So understanding all the platforms, understanding how to use them, if you understanding, what you want to, creating content on them that you find interesting and want to share, so that you can start practicing that muscle of content creation, if that's something that you want to do. If you have parents that own their own businesses and might need help in the social space, that's a great way to start. Because you can see what kind of social presence that they may need, because there's a chance that you probably understand the space better than they do. And you can test it out if you have relatives that, need help in that space. And then once you start to get better at it and you can show within your social media space what you've done, you can potentially become a little bit of an entrepreneur. And instead of getting a job at 15 at a Baskin and Robbins, you could inquire to small businesses that might need that help or be looking for some type of intern. There's a lot of internship opportunities now out in the social space. And quite often people are looking for the younger people because you understand the space even more. But you need to be able to show them what you can do. So by creating that smaller portfolio on your own social media and showing what you've done for your family or your friends, that can help you, because that's kind of what I did. I mean, I created something separately in a space that showed what I could do. And when the person saw it, they said, okay, you're doing a great job. I want to hire you to actually do this professionally. And so that was the same evolution that I went through even as an adult, but anyone can try that.
Absolutely. I think that's so important for students to understand, is that many times, you may have to put in the work. Actually, a lot of times you will have to put in the work without pay or by volunteering to be able to get that experience or to prove your worth. And I think that's an important point to make is, don't be afraid to volunteer for those opportunities or take the step to reach out to people in your community and either A, ask for help, or B, volunteer your services. So I think that's a great point and advice for students they can go ahead and do today, now.
Yes.
So we have a couple of questions from students. The first question that we have is, what social media platform do you see being utilized the most over the next few years?
So I would say Instagram is definitely one of the most engaging for sure, but one of the newest platforms that's out there that has become even more interesting, and they've been around for less than a year, is a platform called Clubhouse. That is a all audio platform, and so it's not about what you look like or anything like that. It's about value that you can add to the community. That's actually where I started my investment journey, and I found people that were adding value to me by talking about how to invest. And so I'm learning in that community. But I also have, I can have sessions on social media and teaching people on how to be an entrepreneur. But it is a great community to be able to connect with those type of people and learn. It's also a great community to where you can find ideas about how to get into the social media space, if that's something that you're interested in, where you can get lots of tips on how to utilize social in a great way that you could then help other people with. So that is the up and coming one, but definitely from a usage perspective and what people, what my clients tend to love and a lot of their fans tend to love the most, it does tend to be Instagram. As far as the youth are concerned, I know they tend to love the Snapchat space. So for sure, that's still extremely popular. But in my world, between Instagram and then this up and coming Clubhouse, those are the two that definitely we focus the most on. But it is important, and I tell my clients that they represent their brand in all of the top spaces. So I encourage everyone to have a Facebook page as a personality, have a Twitter account, have an Instagram, so that you can make sure that no one else is impersonating you in those spaces, and you can stake your ground and protect your brand. So that's really important when you have the social media networks that have been around for a really long time and that their projects, both professional and personal, are on. You also want to be in those places.
Yes, absolutely. So the next question that we have is, what social media platform do you think is the most effective for marketing purposes?
I definitely feel like Instagram definitely is. It allows you to visually represent your product or service in very positive ways. And you can also, which is really important in the business world, is actually putting advertising dollars behind posts so that you can boost them and send them out to people who don't follow you, which is really important so that you can hopefully then get more people to be aware of your content and follow it. Oh, and then I guess I would be remiss. TikTok, obviously, is a humongous platform, both as far as the up and coming side, but it's definitely a different beast, and it definitely lends more towards people that are really good with the video side and the movement side of things as opposed to just pictures. But yeah, definitely. Between TikTok, Instagram, those are two of the really important networks from a usage perspective that are out there right now.
Yes. So the last question that we have is, could you provide an example of a social media marketing strategy that you have used and have seen to be effective?
So the thing that has always been effective, no matter what year it is, from when I started to right now, is authenticity. That is truly, like, for me, it's helping my clients to be their authentic self in the social media space, which is why people ask me, do you actually know your clients? And I'm like, I can't do my job well if I don't actually know my clients. And so it's just really important for you to amplify who you are authentically, because if you don't, people detect that and they don't tend to want to follow it. And in this particular cancel culture that we have, people have gotten, I think, more astute at knowing when someone is not being real. Mm-hmm. So if you stick with being authentically who you are and what you can share and how you can help the world, that is a technique that always works, no matter what.
Absolutely. I think that's just good all around advice is, don't try to be someone else. Don't try to model, be yourself. You are who you are and you are unique. So I love that. That is a great note to end on. And thank you so much for being with us today. Is there any last piece of advice you want to leave with our students before we wrap up?
I personally, I started my career in the traditional career space where you go and you get a job, with a company. And I'm glad I did that because it taught me what I needed to know about the business world and how it runs. And what directed me into starting my first business was actually something that can happen at any time. In my case, it was 9/11 happened, and the airline industry was heavily impacted by it. And there was a chance that I may not have a job. Luckily, I kept my job, but it made me realize that something could happen and that job could be taken away. So that's why I started my business on the side and then eventually left that corporate position and just did my own business. So I think it's really important for me when I did that. I really figured out who I was, that no matter how much money I made in the corporate space, I wasn't ever truly happy and I couldn't figure out why. It wasn't until I became an entrepreneur that I realized, well, this is actually who I am. And even though there can be lots of uncertainty in being an entrepreneur, it was still something that truly deeply made me happy. And so I think it's really important for you to figure out who you are. And who you are may be someone who works up a corporate ladder. That's who I thought I needed to be. But when I realized that truly who I am and what makes me happy is to be my own boss, pursuing that was the best decision that I ever made. So at the end of the day, figure out who you are, what makes you happy, and be willing to work hard and go after that. And that is, why today I know that I'm in a space that I will be able to be in for forever, because being an entrepreneur is who I am. And that is just, it's what makes me happy. And I love that I get to wake up every day and be that.
Yes, I love that. You have provided so much good advice for our students today. So thank you. Thank you so much to everyone that tuned in. Be sure to check back next week. We'll have another industry professional to bring you some incredible advice. You guys have a wonderful day.